You're not delaying anything on purpose. The problem is that when someone has to make this very tough decision, your self-preservation is telling you that something potentially is not right. Any decisions that you make from the moment that you decided to go through this process, it will be looked at in a certain way. When you're thinking about who am I going to work with, who's going to help me during this process, you take into consideration not just whether there is conflict, but whether there is complexity. Marriage is about love. Divorce is about money. Without the right guidance, critical mistakes can have lasting financial consequences. That is where I come in. My name is Gabriella Martinelli, founder at Ever After Wealth. As a certified divorce financial analyst, I provide my clients financial clarity, strategic divorce planning, and long-term stability. On this podcast, I am sharing what you need to know about getting through a divorce, protecting your legacy, growing your wealth and assets post-divorce, and figuring it out what you really want in this next stage of life. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Divorce and Money Podcast. I am Gabriella Martinelli, your host and private divorce financial strategist at Ever After Wealth. Today is the last episode we are recording for this season. I want to take this summer to revamp and do a lot of other things. I will be presenting at several conferences this summer. And also I have gotten such good feedback from you, from my listeners. So I want to really concentrate on what I'm going to bring to you back when we come back in August. I have several guests that are already set up to record with me. So I want to take the time to really prepare for the next season to give you what you really need while you're going through this process. I want to give you a little bit of information today to summarize what we did, all the episodes we did together, the guests that we had. There's a lot of information that you're going to have that you can still go back to during this break until we come back in August. And I wanted to take the time to talk to you about this. Before we start, I have new listeners that come to me every week that send me messages. And I have longtime listeners that make comments about one new episode, or they went back to the second, third episode, and they have a comment to make about this presentation. And I think it's important that for those that should start today, maybe someone starts today in the last episode, I want them to understand. And if you have been here for a long time, I want you to know why this podcast exists, and I want you to know why I do what I do. So to start, I'm a private divorce financial strategist. I am a certified divorce financial analyst, and I'm nationally certified divorce mediator. It's important that you know that though I was a financial advisor and I had my financial licenses, I decided to quit those licenses because I wanted to do a work that will be concentrating in your divorce financial situation and also avoid any kind of conflict of interest. And that for me is important. The independence that I get to use in my work is very important for me. And it's important for my clients and for my listeners to know why I do that. I spent 15 years inside family law offices. I know exactly what happens with someone that is very smart or very successful and knows everything about their finances, or what happens with someone that doesn't know anything about their finances. The same exact situation runs both ways. You find yourself in a process that you don't understand. Nobody trains anyone to go through a divorce. And it's very hard to understand all the decisions that come to you, all the consequences, because in reality, the way we think about divorce as a legal process, I believe is not right. I believe that divorce is a high-stakes financial restructuring, usually disguised as just a legal problem, and is constantly hijacked by emotion. And what I mean by that is every single decision that you make regarding your finances during the divorce is going to affect you the rest of your life. Yet, a lot of people still believe that an attorney is the only person you need to help during this process. Unfortunately, attorneys are not financial experts, they are legal experts. But when you're going through a divorce, though you have the legal side of things, you have to think about the financial things. That strategy has to come together on both sides. This is why I do what I do, because I want to work with your attorney to help you create the best strategy that you can create as you're going through this process. I want my clients to have the confidence to make those financial decisions with all the information. I had a couple of conversations this past week with clients and also with individuals that wanted to work with me. And one of the biggest things that I explained to them was, you cannot come to work with me expecting a report. I am not going to just grab all your documents, create this very nice spreadsheet, and hand it to you and your attorney and said, hey, here is your spreadsheet, good luck. That is not the professional that I am. I created, because of this reason, my personal framework, which is called the EAW Divorce Strategy Framework. The way that this framework works is the EAW is evaluate, analyze, and weave. What that means to me, evaluate means understanding where my clients stand from an emotional point of view. How long you been married? How was this marriage? Do you have kids? Are your kids younger? Are your kids older? Do you own a business? Are you a physician? Or you're married to a physician? Are you married to a business owner and you're not understanding exactly what the finances do or how do they work, or understand what are those decisions that you're supposed to be making without understanding what's going to happen if you make those decisions. Once I get all of that information from you, I move to analyze, and that's where all the data comes. And that's when I look at hundreds of documents and statements and P&Ls, et cetera, when I can get a better understanding of how the finances of your marriage look like. And then we have WIV. When I put the two and two together, is what you need, where you are emotionally, where you're heading, and the numbers, and see how all those come together so we can create the best strategy for you with your attorney. The reason that this is very important is because, unfortunately, I have seen this in the last 22 years, and is a lot of individuals paying what I call the confusion tax. And that comes from not understanding what you're doing or the actual decisions that you're making. Or you're making decisions from stress, or you're making decisions because you want to be done with it, because the pain is too greater, because it's been too long, or because they're pressuring you one way or another, because you feel like you cannot delay this process anymore, because somebody's guilting you and delaying this on purpose. You're not delaying anything on purpose. The problem is that when someone has to make this very tough decision, your self-preservation is telling you that something potentially is not right. I call it peer pressure. Sometimes it's the attorney, sometimes it's your spouse or soon to be ex-spouse, it's the system, the society, the friends. You should get this, you should get that. Yes, you should do that. And honestly, as human beings, what we want to do is stop the pain, stop all the voices, stop the pressure. So what happens then? We make decisions that actually are not the best decisions for us. And that's why I call it the confusion tax. Are decisions that are made without all the information, without understanding, guided by emotions or pressure or fear, or just that desire for the pain to go away. For example, and this is very simple. Most of my clients have a more complex financial situation, but if we have a couple and we have two retirement accounts and we say, okay, well, there's 100,000 in a 401k and 100,000 in a Roth IRA, just each of you keeps your accounts and you can move on and you're equal in that sense of the retirement accounts. Well, unfortunately, you're not, because a 401k has tax consequences because it's pre-tax money that you're saving. So when you're going to cash that 401k, first of all, with a lot of those restrictions that a 401k comes, right? You cannot just go and take money from your 401k tomorrow. It depends on your age, etc. Well, the person that has a Roth IRA has an account that is after tax money and can be taken without the other considerations that a 401k is. So in reality, it looks like, hey, Two retirement accounts, we're dividing it in two. Everybody gets their half. They should be okay. Well, actually, they shouldn't because you're dividing two accounts that are not equal to each other. And one spouse is going to have $100,000 and the other one is going to have maybe 70,000, 75,000, depending on their tax bracket. So I think it's very important that when you're making these financial decisions, it's not just about, oh, is it going to be equal or not? Is it going to be equal, but based on what? Based on what the end result of the division is. The other point that I wanted to make is, and I think that this one is very important, you need your attorney because your attorney has to be aware of the laws in your jurisdiction, and that person has to guide you because you have obligations and rights by the law. But you also need your CDFA and your financial advisor and the things that I do. I'm a divorce strategy that works mostly with business owners and physicians or their spouses because I understand the underlying issues that a business or a medical practice brings to a divorce that is a very significant process in time that has its very own rules. A lot of the times individuals said to me, oh, no, we're being amicable. We're both on the same page. This is going to be very easy. My state is a community state, it's 50-50, it's an equitable distribution state. It's very simple. The reality of this is complexity is not conflict. You can go through this process without conflict. Sometimes it happens. These two spouses, they're not trying to go after each other. They want to do this on what is called amicable. But that doesn't mean that their marital state is not complex. This is why it's very important that you have the support that you need. Not because we want to create conflict, it's because we want to simplify the complexity and we want to make sure that the decisions that you make are founded on the information. Being amicable doesn't mean having all the information and understanding the decisions that you're making. So it's very important that when you're thinking about who am I going to work with, who's going to help me during this process, you take into consideration not just whether there is conflict, but whether there is complexity. My clients are all of them business owners or spouses of business owners. The fact that you own a business creates a whole set of complexity when it comes to the division of assets. And I have two specific episodes that you can go back in our library that talks about the business owners and what they can do to protect their business, but also what the other side should be looking into when they're talking about business valuations, when you're talking about personal goodwill, enterprise goodwill, how your state looks at things when it comes to the business. So it's not as simple as saying, I have a savings account and I'm going to divide it in two. That is complexity. So when a individual is going through this process, they should have everybody to support them, not because there's conflict, but because it is complexity. And it's very important that you understand the decisions that you're making. And you also understand that when a document is signed, the intention of those decisions are in the paper that you're signing. Sometimes parties say, we want to do this. And when an attorney drafts a document, the intention gets forgotten because the words are not the words that reflect that intention, and they are not done within the parameters of what a financial institution will look at when they're trying to divide a financial account, etc. Who can help you with this complexity? And I want to make a point about this because it's very important for me and for the firm that I created that my clients understand what I bring to the table. You own a business or you're married to a business owner. You own a medical practice or you're married to a physician that owns a medical practice. Or you're a CEO that actually works in a 500 Fortune company and has all kinds of executive compensation and stocks and options that you have to be dividing, correct? So who can help you with this complexity? And this is where it gets very important. The attorney, yes, you need the attorney because the law is going to trump everything else. Divorce law in your jurisdiction, in your state, is what's going to guide this process. The problem is that you have to understand that it's not just the law, but also the law when it applies in the financial side, when it applies to divorce. Divorce is a process that is very specific when it comes to the rules as to how two spouses would divide a business, how spouses divide retirement accounts or investment accounts. There is rules. The IRS, the tax code has rules about individuals going through a divorce and how that gets looked at through those lenses. So it's very important that you understand one thing. You're a business owner, you have a CPA. You probably have a financial advisor. You have potentially a CFP. Maybe you have even a business attorney that works with you. None of those individuals are qualified to help you while you're going through this process. I have 22 years working in the divorce world, 15 of those with a law firm. I was a financial advisor. I was a wealth manager at Merrill Lynch, and I became a certified divorce financial analyst. And that's when I realized there's a significant conflict of ethics when a financial advisor that might as well be a CDFA is trying to help you going through the divorce. And there's a few reasons why that is a conflict of ethics. Mainly, they are trying to continue to manage your money, right? By the way, I said in the beginning, divorce is a high stakes financial restructuring. Your money is going to shake. You don't know how it's going to end up. And the person that is advising you should be advising you just about this process without thinking, oh, how much money I'm going to be managing. Am I going to be able to sell this financial product at the end of the day or not? That is very important. And it is a conflict of ethics for a financial advisor to do both works, your investment advisory and then help you with your divorce. I don't sell financial products either because, for example, life insurance, there's no worse moment in life to buy a life insurance policy than when going through a divorce. And the other part of this is simply that the court is going to be looking at you. The court is going to be looking at everything you've done financially for the last few years. And any decisions that you make from the moment that you decided to go through this process, it will be looked at in a certain way. And if your advisor is not qualified to understand how the court is going to look at that tiny little movement of money, is going to affect the process and is going to affect the end result of this. So the idea is that you have to be prepared with the experts that can actually protect you during this process. They will continue to work with you afterwards and help you manage depending on that restructuring and how that works. But you have to be very specific about who works with you. And you have to do your due diligence to know that they have the experience that your complexity requires. Whether there's conflict or not, the complexity requires strategy, mastery, and expertise. And you always have to remember that. No matter which side of the coin you're the business owner or the business owner's spouse, you need that support. So I know this is a lot of information. And this is, if this happens to be the first episode you're listening to, please go back and listen to all of other episodes. We have 24 episodes, and there's episodes from the very beginning. What it actually talks is specifically about what do I do as a CDFA. There's episodes about individuals that are in the middle of the process, individuals that are still thinking about what the process may look like for them so they can make their decisions. There's a lot of information, content. There's excellent guests too, and a lot of information for you to go through before you're making a decision. If you are in the midst of it and you're trying to figure it out, what is the next step, please reach out. You don't have to stay on the podcast. I am working on getting more information and a new direction for the podcast in August, but that doesn't mean I'm not available. I just feel like you need to go back and listen to the basics and the structure. There's episodes with attorneys where we talk about the different processes, because legally you can go through this process very different ways. And I think it's important that you think about the options when you're thinking about how you're going to approach this process. There's also an episode that I think that you should listen, which is about social media. And this is where I want to caution you, especially if you've been here, it's just the first time that you're here. You're going to hear from a lot of people. There's a lot of information there. There's individuals that are going and do AI searches, trying to figure out what to do in their process. You have got to be very careful. There's so many rules. All of those little rules that I was talking before about your financial advisor not being aware of, your neighbor is not either. The person in Facebook may not be giving you the best advice either. So that is the actual reason I have this podcast, is for the information to be the right information, understanding that every single divorce is different, that the circumstances of everyone is different. So I want you to go back from the beginning. I want you to look. We're going to put all the list of all the episodes in our show notes, but it's important that you go and find the ones that are more attached to your situation, whether you are the business owner, whether you are a physician, whether you're married to a business owner or a physician, or a CEO, whether you have been at home for the last 15 years taking care of the family, or you have been out of the home creating a profession in life and growing a business for the last 15 years. No matter where you are, you're going to find an episode to help you, and take this time to go through it. And if you have more questions, reach out to me. I'm still available. I'm still taking clients, and we can see where you are and see if we are a good fit. But most of it, just keep in mind that it's not about how amicable you are. It's not about how much conflict there is in your case. It's also about how much complexity it is. And you need to have the right professionals helping with you. Divorce does not have to destroy your wealth. If you have the right strategy, you can protect it for the next step. So thank you for being here. The next episodes are coming in August. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to all the guests that we're going to bring on board and the refreshed direction that we're going to bring to this show. So yeah, go back, listen to all the back episodes, and please come back in August because you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're going through a separation or divorce, please contact me through my website at everafterwealth.com. I would love to be a resource and partner as you navigate this season and prepare for your financial future. I'll see you in the next episode.